7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Hey guys, and welcome to another Mixers Review show. For those of you who are not quite sure what we do here, we pick a mixer with a lot of recipes on all the flavors, pick a couple of recipes and look at a body of work, all together as a group. And for today's show, we picked Dazcole. Now, I haven't looked at Dazcole's recipes that much. I'm not sure, Richard or Deetz, does anybody know who Dazcole is?
Up until now, I've also not mixed anything, obviously. But I'm sure Rich knows.
Darren's an English guy. He's been mixing for quite a long time. I think he works for a department store in the UK. And he got into mixing quite early, and he committed himself quite heavily to it. He's released his own line of wine shots, which are sold, I think, through chefs in the UK, and very, very popular juices. He goes quite a lot for remixes of popular juices, like his Dinner Lady remix and his Fantasia remix are very popular. But then he also has some very innovative and interesting, unusual mixes of flavors, which is more his DIY style, and then he's got his clone commercial style. But English bloke, I listened to a very interesting interview that he did with Joel back when Joel was doing the Mr. Hardwick's radio show on Wayne's channel. He did an interview with Darren on that, and they both decided that FA Dark Bean Espresso is one of the worst flavors ever. So I immediately warmed to him when he said that. So yeah, interesting bloke.
Yeah, cool. So, Richard, do you want to kick off?
Yeah, I will start with the first recipe of his that I did, which is his the Fantasia remix. Whole bunch of oranges in here.
I'm all ears now, Richard.
Whole bunch of oranges in here. 4% Flavor West Blood Orange, 3% Inawera Cactus, 0.75% TFA Dragon Fruit, 0.5% of TFA Marshmallow, 0.5% of Cap Super Sweet, 3% Cap Sweet Tangerine, 1% FA Tanger Mandarin, and then 2% of WS23 for the cooling. This is clearly a Fanta
orange
clone, yeah, Fanta orange clone of the beverage. And in turn a clone of the Malaysian juice, which clones Fanta, so it's kind of a clone of a clone. And in that respect, it works very, very well for me. Let me just start with the texture notes. This for me has got a very good juice level. It registers as wet as a beverage rather than a fruit. Also a good level of cooling, what you would expect from a refrigerated soda. In terms of the orange note, okay, we've got the three together, the blood orange, the sweet tangerine, and the FA Tanger Mandarin. This, for me, the actual vape comes across as a bit too authentic for Fanta. It tastes to me like you took Fanta and put a bit of fresh squeezed orange juice into it, or nachi juice into it. I also find it a little bit more mellow. It's not quite as artificially bright and bubbly and fizzy as Fanta is. I mean, there's no carbonation in this, which is fine because carbonation is very difficult. But I also feel that just in terms of the flavor, it's also a little bit more mellow. It doesn't have that sort of artificial brightness that Fanta does. And I think that might be the marshmallow playing a role in that. Where it is very authentic for me in terms of the the comparison to Fanta is that it leaves the exact same aftertaste in the back of my mouth as when I drink real Fanta. You know, when you drink a Fanta, you get that sort of coating on the back of your throat and the top of your palate, where you get that kind of chemical orange Fanta note, and that taste lingers in the back of your mouth. And this juice replicates that absolutely perfectly. As I say, as I'm actually inhaling and exhaling, I'm not getting spot on Fanta, but 30 seconds after I've exhaled, it feels like I've been drinking Fanta. So it's absolutely bang on in that respect. It's a very pleasant juice for me. It's bright, it's refreshing. It does have that slightly more authentic than artificial note, which pulls it off the Fanta for me. But I like that. A little bit of authentic orange juice in Fanta is no problem for me. So this is a juice that I could, even though I'm not a beverage fan and I'm not a fruit fan, this is a juice that I could vape for extended periods. It's a very, it's a very happy and bright juice. What were your thoughts on it? Yeah.
So exactly that. I mean, that's word for word exactly the same thing. So there's an Italian soda, and I'm a beverage freak. I'm actually inspired by this juice, so I'm going to be mixing up orange myself, orange Fanta. But this one here, I thought there's an Italian soda called, and I'll leave a picture below. It's this authentic orange soda, and it's got a foil cover over the actual soda that you have to peel off first before you open the can. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's San Pellegrino, and it's an authentic blood orange soda, right? And this, if Daz was chasing this profile, or if he actually used this in his description, it would have been, for me, 100% there, because I got exactly the same notes here. It was a little bit too authentic to be a Fanta grape, a Fanta soda, Fanta orange, excuse me. But that finish that you get from this vape was very authentic Fanta orange. The cooling was on point. He actually, he pulled all the stops here. If you look at the recipe, I mean, there's a lot of hacks in this recipe, So if you're a beginner mixer and you're looking for a recipe that, uses a lot of hacks in it, this is one to look at, because, I mean, he uses dragon fruit in his emulsifier for all the oranges, like blood orange, sweet tangerine, and mandarin, all to merge all of those together, right? That's the emulsifier. And then he uses marshmallow to take the harsh notes off the top, of all the citrus notes, because there can be a harshness, to citrus for some people. So he uses marshmallow at 0.5% to cut off some of the top notes. So there's a lot of tricks in here, which, there's some skill that's been applied here. But yeah, I mean, this was 100% in my wheelhouse, Richard. I mean, Deetz, this is actually, you should be trying this one as well. As a kid, I used to rather go for the Fanta grape than the Fanta orange. But, when it comes to cool fruits, I am down for trying it out, and this one really nails it. This is 100% a commercial flavor. If somebody comes from vaping commercial juices and they want to, the gateway into DIY, this is a recipe to look at, because this is going to get you into DIY. So there's such a good place for these kind of recipes. And yeah, it's a blast of coolness and a lot of citrus, but it's such a happy recipe, as I was showing you over here. So I mixed up, so I normally mix up, this is 30 mils. I'm normally mix up 15 mils of a juice the first time I mix it up, and I'm also I'm almost done with it. The only comment that I have on this one here is that I think the Inawera cactus needs to pull back a little bit more. So it's used as 0.3. I can pick it out in the recipe. I love Inawera cactus, but because I can pick it out, it kind of distracts me from the oranges. And maybe other people can't pick it out here. Maybe there was something funky happening with my scale. I'm not sure. And I added an extra drop because one drop, can kind of swing Inawera cactus into weird territory. But I could taste the Inawera cactus here, but it wasn't unpleasant for me. Okay, so even though I could taste it, it wasn't unpleasant, but I knew that what Dazcole was going for was a Fanta orange, and if I think about that, there's no Inawera cactus in Fanta orange. But for me, if I'm going to put a rating down for this one here, because it's just such a commercial flavor and it's in my wheelhouse, I mean, I'll mix up 100 mils of this right now, and I'll be very happy vaping this, throughout the week. Not every single day, but like 3 days of the week. This is a yummy recipe, and especially a good one for people looking to start out DIY and loves Fanta orange.
What I like about this recipe as well, I have the same citrus problem, and specifically orange problem, as Concrete River does. A lot of the orange flavors to me register as waxy and warm. Now, I mean, obviously the vapor that we are inhaling is warm, but it's not a vape temperature thing. It's a taste temperature thing. When I taste, for example, FA Mandarin, it vapes warmer than I would expect it to, and that is a big distraction. I mean, warm citrus is just not very appealing at all, and it doesn't help turning down the temperature on your vape because it's not coming from the temperature of the vapor. It's in the flavor itself. It just registers as a warm orange, and I'm not getting that at all in this. Obviously, the WS23 is doing its job of cooling, but I think that it's in the way that he's layered the oranges together as well that he's working against that innate waxy warmth that you get from a lot of orange flavors. So I was really happy to detect no wax and no warmth in this particular mix.
It definitely sounds like something I want to mix up. It's funny because over the past 2 weeks I've been trying to get something orangey going. I think you guys saw the version 2 that I shared on our group. It's ridiculously over-flavored orange. I'm looking for that orange, man, and this sounds like this is
the one.
It's exactly that. So I'm going to give it a mix this week and
shebang,
also have a go.
A little go.
Yeah, a little go, Yeah, man.
Also interesting that he didn't turn to Cap Juicy Orange, which is most people's first port of call for that type of orange juice type of thing. He went for actual orange fruits. So skillful mix.
Awesome. All right. So from my side, I've got Timebomb.
Yeah, I also mixed that one up. But you talk about it because I did a sub on this one.
Okay.
But you talk about the authentic first.
All right. Well, what got me is basically 1-2 words, Juicy Peach. And I was like, okay, I'm mixing it. And that was that. I really didn't care for the rest in here because I saw Juicy Peach, so I was happy. And at 5%, that made me even more happy. But anyway, I mean, look at it. Juicy Peach, Sweet Strawberry, Fuji, and Oba Oba. Now, I've worked with everything except for the FA Oba Oba. The percentages are 1% Fuji, FA Fuji, 1% FA Oba Oba, and 5% TPA Peach Juicy, and lastly 3% Cap Sweet Strawberry. I mean, I love all of these except for the Oba Oba because I've never actually used it. So this was quite interesting. His description on it also got me a little bit more interested in the recipe. For my personal notes I've got is that this is definitely very well put together. I like the juicy peach a lot, but I also figured at 5% it's going to be a bit harsh, and I didn't see any cream or anything that breaks it.
Mm-hmm.
Then my attention turned to the Oba Oba. Now, I guess that's what's doing the creamy thing here, but it's a little bit more. I wouldn't really say it's got a very, very strong flavor on its own, but it is a lot like a fizzy marshmallow. And that is partly his description also here. He says it's a cross like a cream soda, like a marshmallow with a sparkle or a fizz. Now, that's very accurate to what my experience of it is. But I wouldn't say there's a huge, strong, potent flavor to it on its own, but with other stuff is where the magic happens. After this recipe, I am definitely using the Oba Oba a lot more, and I'm actually thinking to use this as a permanent sub, replacing my cream fresh in all my fruit recipes to shave it off. The fact that it brings in that fizziness, and it's kind of like a soft, fizzy marshmallowness without the marshmallow that a lot of people don't like about marshmallow. It's very strange to explain, but think about marshmallow at very low percentages, almost where you don't know there's marshmallow, but you know what it's doing to the recipe. Now, that's what it's doing without a very big flavor profile. Initially, I thought the Oba Oba was like a fruit. It sounds like some tropical island full of deserted people and
That
exotic
run around
fruit
and say,
or something.
Oba, Oba.
Yeah, you know what a dragon fruit looks like. That's what this sounds like. So I expected something quite different. The peach juicy. He says it's a good shake and vape, but 3 days knocks off the harshness on the peach. It is a good shake and vape, but it is harsh. Like my wife noted, it is a bit harsh the first 3 days. I agree with it, but I could vape it because I'm used to that. So I would say it perfectly hits the note from 5 days. Then the peach juicy rounds off the sharp harsh notes that some might have. The sweet strawberry really adds a nice sweetness to it, and Fuji just has this red magic to it. It's like a red candy magic, and it does that very well here. But the peach juice is definitely the star of the recipe. It's the main profile. It is a delicious, juicy fruit recipe, and the Oba Oba is amazing for what he used it here for. I will rate this recipe a 5, definitely. It is for 2 reasons I would rate it a 5. No, actually 3. Peach juicy at 5%. It's a fruity recipe, and I found Oba Oba, so that definitely is a 5 recipe for me. I enjoy it. My description here is, it is a weird color-changing fruit mix that I really enjoy. So that's my rating. It's a good recipe. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Dazcole.
Yeah, so also mix this one up. I read about Oba Oba, and he goes on about the fizz, and so I tried it with fizzy sherbet as a sub, and I went quite high with the fizzy sherbet, so I went in with a direct sub. So I went in with 1%, which I think is wrong here, because fizzy sherbet at about 1%, there's a little bit of a chalkiness that it adds, and I think what the Uba Uba is doing in the original mix is adding a little bit of wetness to the mixture. Peach juicy, it tends to be a little bit harsher, especially from 5% onwards. But yeah, this does mellow out after a couple of days steep. What I'm getting, and I'll just talk about the fruit pairings, because this is really the only thing I can talk about with this recipe, because I added this up. I think it's a beautiful pair. It feels like you get this, like peach in front, and then it's just followed with this, these sweet nuances of strawberry,
Yes.
It's like a peach, and then it comes like a strawberry comes through. I think the Fuji is, a little bit in the back. I think it's just there to add some sweetness to the mix. So I don't really,
mysteriousness.
yeah, it's just
In
in
a
the
candy
back.
sense.
It's just there to bend, It's not there to add any nuances. I think it's just there to bend that strawberry, or merge the peach into like a peach strawberry, you know, because
Or,
these
yeah, or
flavors
more
like,
syrupy.
yeah,
A more syrupy.
syrupy, yeah.
I get what you're saying. The peach is already juicy as it is, but the strawberry adds that sweetness, almost that syrupy sweetness. This is the same syrupy sweetness that I normally refer to for Inawera Shisha.
Mm.
But in this case, it is definitely coming from the sweet strawberry. It is adding that sweetness
Mm.
to
So
the peach.
so the only other thing on my side, and that I'm agreeing with what you said, Deetz, and this is a little bit light on texture, you know, so but I don't know if the uba is going to add that texture, you know, so I can't really comment
Yes.
on that. But the mix that I made, right? So I think if you use a little bit of jelly candy in here, or a little bit of Inwera cactus, or a little bit of fresh cream. But now what you are saying is uba is like the
Definitely.
fruity fresh cream, you know.
That's
So
no, that's exactly, that is a very good description. That's what I wanted to say. The first thing I thought I would use this with, and I've recently been experimenting a lot with fizzy sherbet. Now, it's interesting that you used that as a sub. And the first thing when you said that I thought that it's going to be empty. It's going to lack that. I wouldn't say it gives it a fullness, like insanely mouthfeel, but it's definitely giving you a texture that's not there with fizzy sherbet. Fizzy sherbet is more flavor aspect, where this is kind of like, I wouldn't say a flavor aspect, it's more additive that backs up the whole profile. It makes it a little bit fuller, but don't expect like a marshmallow fullness coming through. It's more like a bubbly cream. It's a very weird thing. I've never worked with it, so I'm still trying to get my descriptions around. But the fizz is there, and I wouldn't say a cream, but a thickness, almost like a cream, but a thickness without creaminess to it. In very small quantities. So maybe that is what you're missing, is the over, just to give you that
texture,
depth.
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Texture.
So, you know, from a pairing perspective, I like these three fruits together. I think there's a lot more to be done with peach juicy and sweet strawberry. I think those two really surprised me. I'm obviously not going to be rating this recipe because of the sub, right? But you know, I'm definitely going to be playing around with these two fruits. Another recipe from Daz that inspired me to create something else, you know. So I think, you know, I'm going to be following this mixer now because it just seems like, you know, and this is what mixing is all about for me. You know, you find mixers that you know, kind of share the same kind of taste buds or experiences that you're looking for, and you know, if you
I get so excited.
yeah, this is Deetz, this is more of a
The
fruit
peach
nut.
juicy, yeah.
This is a fruit nut for sure. I'm thinking Dazcole is a fruit nut, you know. What did you mix up else, Richard?
Just before I get into my next mixes, just some useless trivia for you. Oba is actually apparently an Italian candy.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, I think it's their
So
sort of
it's
equivalent.
not villagers running around with uba fruit.
I think it's their equivalent of what the Americans call Smarties, but what we would call rascals.
Okay.
Skittles, you know,
Yeah.
those fruity
Yeah, that's
candy.
definitely a fizzy, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's the Italian equivalent of it. So, you know, flavor art.
Interesting.
All it needs is a bit of lemon, and it'll be full on flavor art. Okay. My three other mixes from Darren. The thing about all of these is that they take no prisoners. You're gonna love them or you're gonna hate them, because these are three juices that really announce themselves. Let me start with a simple one, and this is so simple it's almost a 3-2-1. That is his Thai coconut ice cream. 1.25% FA caramel, 1% FA coconut, 4% TFA vanilla bean ice cream. So he calls it Thai coconut ice cream. Very unusual pairing, caramel and coconut. Not often that you see those two together. I mixed this up, gave it quite a good long steep because I didn't want to vape it fresh. I think there's going to be chemistry happening in there that's not going to be very good fresh off the shake. So I gave it at least 10 days. And this is my conclusion of this is that it's a juice that I will vape for 15 minutes once every 2 or 3 days. It's exceptionally rich. For a juice that's only just over 6% flavor, it's that pairing of caramel and coconut that does it, along with the inherent richness and sort of denseness of the TFA vanilla bean ice cream. But this really does hit you front and center. That on the exhale, you first get that mixture of caramel and Vbic, which gives you that very dense, rich, sweet ice cream taste. And then as the exhale continues, that coconut comes in and sort of tails off the whole vape with, again, that sweetness of coconut. I was a bit worried initially because both FA caramel and FA coconut can be quite dry. So I was worried that this wasn't going to really register that much as an ice cream. It was going to be a bit dry for that. But the Vbic solves that, and there's a good creamy moistness level to it, so it pulls off an ice cream really well. That layered exhale that I spoke about is also very appealing. I like the fact that it starts with the caramel, ends with the coconut. The problem that I experienced with this is that it's so rich and so unusual that I think people, me especially, I think I'll tire of it quite quickly. And I noticed this when I was testing. I vaped it for 15 minutes and really loved it for those 15 minutes. And then after another 5 or 10 minutes, I was thinking, this is now getting a little bit much for me. I need something that's a little bit more laid back, a little bit gentler on the palate. But if you're into your very dense, rich, decadent vapes, this is certainly a candidate as an all-day vape. So I think I'll keep this one in my rotation, but I'll treat myself to it occasionally rather than vaping it all the time. It's an exceptionally smooth and dense and rich vape. Then on to one of the recipes that I was looking forward to the most of all the juices that we've mixed up for the show, and that was his rhubarb and custard. I mean, I grew up in a house with a rhubarb patch out back. We had rhubarb crumble and rhubarb and custard for dessert, probably.
What is rhubarb, Richard? Can you just explain to me? Because
I was about to ask.
Let me just
What
Google
is this thing you speak of?
What is this rhubarb stuff?
Rhubarb is celery with a raspberry complex. That's about as close as I can explain it. It's very similar to celery. It's got that crunchy, those sort of curved leaves, curved stalks, like you get with celery. It's like that, but it's like a blood red color, which tails off to a kind of delicate pink as you get down towards the bottom end of the stalk. It's usually cooked up with sugar. It has quite an astringent, it's almost like a bitter taste, very juicy. And its trademark, the sort of note that you get in the flavor, it's almost like a metallic sort of tang that you get in it. Now, normally that reduces a little bit when you, it's normally boiled up with sugar. So you get this sort of pureed, it becomes very stringy, soft and stringy when you puree it with sugar. And it makes an absolutely banging filling for a rhubarb crumble. You put a sugary, biscuity, crumbly topping on it and bake it, or you just have it as is with custard. And certainly for people who grew up in England, it's a staple dessert. My mom is from Scotland, so she was very keen on having a rhubarb patch in the garden, and we had rhubarb dessert a lot as a child. So certainly people talk about juices taking you back to your childhood. This one
does, yeah.
was certainly going to do it for me, or at least that was what I hoped. Now, my bad. I bought the Innerwear Rhubarb. It was flavor of the month. Everybody was raving about how good it is and how authentic it is. So I bought it. I haven't done my single flavor testing on it yet. I just popped it straight into the juice as is. And that creates now a problem for me because there's a problem with the juice, and I don't know whether the problem was with the flavor or with the juice. I suspect it's with the flavor, but we'll get to that. Let's just go over the recipe first. It's a very it's a very potent flavor. Daz uses it here at 0.5%, the Innerwear Rhubarb, and I've noticed that the other rhubarb recipes on ATF also use it at around that level. So 0.5% is really about as high as you want to be going on this. To that, he adds 4.5% cap vanilla custard. That's the cap. That's the vanilla notes in it. 0.5% FA marshmallow, 1% of cap gingerbread, which was very interesting, and again we'll get to that later. 1.5% TFA French vanilla creme, which adds a very silky note to the cap vanilla custard. And then he had 1% of sweetener, sucralose. That's not cap super sweet. That would be like TFA sweetener, which is a lot less potent, so not quite as sweet as the cap super sweet would be. 1% FA cream fresh, because cream fresh got to be in there. And then he added 0.5% of FA Tanger mandarin and 0.25% of FA bergamot. And he says that this orange pairing is a sort of magical lift to the rhubarb, which just complements it very well and sort of brings out a better flavor from it. Now, I don't have bergamot. I will never have bergamot because it's used in 1 out of every 20,000 recipes, and it's used at 0.25 to 0.5%. So it's one of those flavors like cardamom or anise, where a 10 ml bottle is going to last you a lifetime, and I'm really not that freaked out about peppery orange flavors that I need bergamot in my life. So I left it out. So again, my bad. It's not the full recipe. I did put in the FA Tanger mandarin, hoping to get some of that effect that he talked about. So it's missing. It's the OG recipe, but it's missing the 0.25% FA bergamot. Now, I don't think that's going to make the world of difference. It will probably make a discernible difference, but it's certainly not going to kill the recipe to leave it out. My problem is with the rhubarb note. The custard is absolutely banging. If you want to make a rhubarb custard base, this one of Dazcole's is perfect. It's smooth, it's thick, it's velvety, it's sweet. It's exactly what you want from a custard that you're going to pair with a tartar, more, sort of astringent fruit like rhubarb. So that bit is perfect. The problem for me is the rhubarb note. Innerwear are chasing that, that metallic tang note that I talked about, and they kind of get it, but the flavor I'm getting from the mix is just this very flat metallic note. That metallic tang in rhubarb is a vibrant, it's a very lively, juicy, fresh type of metallic note that you get. In the Innerwear rhubarb, I'm assuming in the Innerwear rhubarb, it just comes across as a flat metallic layer that, it kind of suggests the fruit, but it doesn't get there for me. Now, that is disappointing for me. I mean, I got very excited when Skittles described this as one of the most authentic flavors he'd ever tasted. To me, it's not getting there. When I smelled the flavor when I got it in the bottle, I thought that's not really registering as rhubarb to me, but I thought it was one of those mega potent Innerwear flavors where you really had to dilute it before you got the correct aroma and the correct flavor from it. But it's just not doing it for me. So I'm left with a juice that has an absolutely supreme custard, but the rhubarb is just falling a little bit flat for me. And again, I don't think this is Darren. I think this is the Innerwear rhubarb. It's the best rhubarb that there is, so it's what we have to work with. But this, to me, this doesn't take me back to my childhood. It's not it's a pleasant juice. There's nothing really off about it. It doesn't nail rhubarb. I wouldn't say it's an off note, but it just doesn't live up to my childhood memories of what rhubarb is. Yeah, I'll do my single flavor testing on it and see if it might also be a concentration issue. 0.5% it's very delicate, and again, a drop or two too much and maybe it just pushed it over the edge. So I might work actually with, say, a 25 or 30% dilution of it, just that I can be more certain that I'm getting the exact right amount in it. But I really want this juice to work because that custard is fantastic.
Phenomenal. Yeah, he doesn't. He uses vanilla custard, right? Cap vanilla custard.
Yeah, cap vanilla custard, French vanilla creme, and
marshmallow and FA cream. Yeah,
FA cream fresh, and it is perfect. It is so velvety and dense and sweet. It's a wonderful custard base. I'll be stealing that custard base to use in my own stuff. I will unashamedly steal that custard base. I would just need to play a little bit with the rhubarb. If somebody who has tasted it without the bergamot and with the bergamot can confirm to me that the bergamot makes all the difference in this, then yes, I will happily buy FA bergamot, because if this could reproduce that childhood rhubarb and custard that I'm accustomed to, then if it requires buying FA bergamot, that is what I'll do. But I don't think that is where the problem is. The problem for me seems to come straight out of the Inawera concentrate bottle. It didn't register as rhubarb for me when I smelled it. It doesn't really register as rhubarb when I taste it. It's kind of like lemon. That lemon pledge note in many cereals is about as close as they can get to lemon. So it kind of suffices, but it's not really what you want. And it's the same. This rhubarb is the lemon pledge of rhubarbs. It suggests it. It's got the same kind of character, but there's a note in there that just isn't working for me. So a great pity. I think if you can see past that metallic notes in the rhubarb, it'll probably be a banging juice. And I'm vaping it. I mean, it's not like the juice was a failure. I'm enjoying it, but just not. It didn't live up to what I expected.
Expectations, yeah.
He's got a few recipes with using the rhubarb, and they're all Inawera rhubarb.
Well, Inawera was the first one to come out with a decent rhubarb. I believe Vape Train also, I don't know if their one is decent, but I see people are using it now. But Inawera seems to be the gold standard of rhubarb. So it's the one that people turn to. For me, it's very much like their gingerbread shisha. I ordered their gingerbread shisha expecting to smell gingerbread. And when I opened the bottle and smelled it, it was like if you gave a mining engineer, a geologist, the task to make a gingerbread flavor, and he used corundum and coal and titanium and sulfur. It sort of suggests gingerbread, but you get the feeling it should be in a bucket at the bottom of a mine, not being served as a foodstuff. It's got a funny sort of earthy chemical, like a mining chemical note to it, and I'm getting exactly the same from the rhubarb. It just seems to be a function of how Inawera formulate flavors, that they come out with these massively potent things that you really need to dilute before you're getting into the territory where you can kind of make out what the aroma is supposed to be and what the taste is supposed to be, and then it doesn't quite nail it. That Inawera gingerbread shisha, I've been trying to find a use for it, and I can't. It's just too weird for me. It just doesn't work at all. But anyway, so
I'm just
sorry, Deetz?
No, I'm just going back on what you guys said earlier. I can see he's using rhubarb, the VT rhubarb, also in a later recipe that he created.
Okay.
The rhubarb Bellini. There he's using the VT. Maybe it's because the flavor isn't as potent on Inawera, which is strange. As you said, I mean, it's Inawera. You expect this super strong flavor. I mean, all their flavors I work with. Take the icy orange, their raspberry. It's really good, potent flavors to work with. So I would have expected that rhubarb to be the same.
Oh, it is. It's huge. It's massively potent. I mean, he uses it at 0.5%. It's just I think as a result of that potency, it just kind of, it pushes chemical very quickly, or metallic
Okay, all right.
in this case. And it's really weird. It's like a flat note. As I was vaping it, I had this idea of custard on top of a flat metal plate. And that flat metal plate is what the rhubarb is doing.
You need to be licking it off.
It's the most bizarre flavor. But the thing is, oddly, that is what rhubarb is like. You do get that sort of, it's almost like a metallic tang to it.
Well, you did mention that before on your description of actual rhubarb. So
I mean, you really need to taste rhubarb to know what it's like. It's an impossible flavor to describe. And as I say, it's suggestive of it, but it goes wrong somewhere. But I'll do more work with Inuit rhubarb and just see if I can't get it to a point. Maybe it just needs to be a little bit less or a little bit more, or I don't know, but I'll mess around with it and see if I can get something that is closer to the rhubarb that I was expecting.
Awesome.
And then I saved the best for last. We're now into bakeries, which is, as you know, my wheelhouse. Darren's Elevenses. Now, Elevenses are biscuits that you have with your tea, or which English people have with their tea at 11 o'clock. And as he describes it, it's a ginger and honey biscuit. So the recipe, 0.5% Inawera biscuit, pretty standard there, 4% cap sugar cookie. That gives you your great sort of
biscuit base.
Cookie.
Yeah,
biscuit cookie base. 0.5% FA meringue for sweetening, 1% cap vanilla custard also for sweetening, and a bit of, at least for, thickening it up a bit. And now we come to the magic, which is the top note. What he's done is he's taken 3% cap gingerbread, mixed it with 0.25% FA honey and 0.25% FA cinnamon Ceylon. Now again, those are not pairings that you're going to see that often, gingerbread with honey and cinnamon, but it's just absolutely heavenly. Now, I'm a big lover of ginger snaps. I love ginger biscuits in all their forms, and I've tried several ginger snap recipes using natural ginger flavors. Those would be FW ginger or Nature's Flavors ginger, and they fall flat for me because they taste like ginger biscuits where somebody has ground up fresh ginger and put an inch-thick layer of fresh ginger on top of the ginger biscuit. It's just too sharp, it's too astringent, it's too natural tasting. Gingerbread and ginger biscuits need to have that zing baked out of the ginger. And that is what cap gingerbread does so well. It gives you that softer, sweeter, darker, more mellow bakery ginger flavor, which is, for me, is the only ginger that works in ginger biscuits or gingerbreads. Here he's layered it with the honey and the cinnamon Ceylon. Now, the honey is quite potent, but it still plays a secondary note to the gingerbread. That cap gingerbread is the main note. The FA cinnamon Ceylon adds a little bit of warmth and a little bit of spice to the gingerbread. Again, that is a product of the baking process. And what he's come up with is just a superb, crunchy, deep, layered, satisfying, spicy, warm cookie that's come fresh from the oven. The sweetness level is absolutely bang on. The honey offsets and complements that gingerbread and cinnamon spice and enhances it. It adds a little bit of sweetness along with the meringue. Oh, sorry, the one other ingredient he added was 2% FW butterscotch rhubarb, which again gives you that sort of dark sweetening and rounds out that gingerbread to a sort of bakery ginger, a sweet bakery ginger. And this is just heavenly for me. This is very close to a 5 for me. I mean, this is a 4.7. I mean, it's a supreme mix. It's not one of his more popular ones. I guess there probably aren't that many ginger fans and maybe not that many bakery fans. But for me, this is absolutely in my wheelhouse. This is the best of Darren's mixes for me. It's probably on the same level as the Fantastic in terms of mixing skill, and the the application and the execution of it. It's probably about the same, but just because it's more in my wheelhouse and more in what I love, I would prefer this one. But this is a supreme recipe. If you want to know how to mix bakeries, have a look at this recipe. This is fantastic stuff.
I believe that's the highest Richard rating we've had on the show.
Yeah.
4.7.
4.7.
Look, Burgundy's Simply Butter Cake gets a 5. I think
that got a 5.
Oh, yeah,
That's right.
okay. Don't forget about the butter cake.
that is the, as I say, that one and Transonnate's original Simply Cannoli before Inawera bulked it up with a reformulated biscuit. Those both got 5s. There are a lot of recipes I'd give 4.5.
I'm interested just the way that you described this. I'm interested. I'm not a dessert, you guys know that, but this sounds very delicious.
This is bakery. It is fantastic.
I love the ginger snaps as well.
Yeah, the thing about it though with this recipe is you have to spare some of your OG 0.5 Inawera custard. You know what I mean?
Inawera biscuit.
Excuse me, Inawera biscuit.
Yeah.
Which
look, it works in this. I made this with a new biscuit.
Scarce resource. You know?
Yeah. I'm sure if you made it with the original Inawera biscuit, it would be even better. It's in here quite low, 0.5, and I think that sort of harsh dry note that I get from the reformulated biscuit, I think is covered up here by the butterscotch ripple, the cap vanilla custard, and probably to a degree by the meringue as well.
So you use the new formulated version of Inawera biscuit, right?
Yeah.
And it works, still works.
Yes. No, it's fantastic. It's beautiful. I don't know if Darren used the original or the new one, but I can confirm that even with the new one, it's very, very. Look, it's very light. It's together with that 4% cap sugar cookie, and the thing is that the whole biscuit base, all it's doing there is adding just a little bit of texture because the actual flavor is dominated by that gingerbread, honey, cinnamon, Ceylon pairing with the butterscotch ripple coming in and just supporting that gingerbread with the sweetness. So, I would have no hesitation in using the new Inawera biscuit with this. It's banging even with the reformulated biscuit. But this is one of my favorite bakery recipes. I mean, I'm such a sucker for ginger, and Darren has pulled this off beautifully.
Awesome. All right. Anything else, guys?
I think just that one recipe I saw now while going through the Dinner Lady Lemon Tart. Have you guys mixed that up?
I did that one with subs. It's really good, but I think he's remixed it now again with a different set of flavors.
Yeah.
For me, it's a very difficult mix to make because the first rule is a big problem with that recipe. There's a lot of flavors that kind of aren't in people's staples there. The one that kills it for me is the cap lemon lime. That's a flavor I've just never got. Lemon, if I lemon Sicily, I'm happy to leave my.
I mixed that up. I mixed that up about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. This was the first super complex recipe I ever tried to mix up. It was a delicious recipe. And I mean, this was one of the first desserts that I can say I really enjoyed this. So much so that I wanted to actually buy the real Dinner Lady Lemon Tart. I never did because it's dessert. You vape one bottle and then you're done. It's not a fruit. What are you doing? Vaping desserts over and over, man.
I must say, I made it with a sub. I made it with big vape lemon instead of the cap lemon lime, and it was enjoyable. I mean, I finished it off, no problem. But it wasn't the OG, and I kind of said to myself that the next time I mixed it, it would be the OG. But I enjoyed even the sub version worked.
I think I'm going to give the new lemon tart remix. I'm going to give that a go, and we can see how that one turns out. That and all the other greatness that you guys have mentioned so far.
Yeah, you have to go check out that fantastic. What is it called? It is. I had it here. Excuse me.
Elevenses.
No, not Elevenses. Yes, but fantastic. A Fantasia remix.
That one. Yes, that's also on my list.
Yeah. So on if you go and check out Dazcole on all the flavors, Dinner Lady Lemon Tart Remix is his number one from popularity perspective. 43 reviews. He had 4 stars there, right? Then if you go, the next one is Fantastic, a Fantasia remix, which is 13 4-star ratings, right? And then after that, it's Citrus Cookie remix, which is 18 4-star rating. Okay, so yeah, I mean,
That's actually very good as well. Circus Cookies. I did that a while back, and it was good. Darren knows his cookies.
What is the profile of the circus cookies? It's not like anything close to the
Zoo
animal
biscuits.
zoo
Yeah,
biscuits.
it is fairly similar to that.
Yeah,
Oh.
so let's look at what he's done here. 1% cap buttercream, 0.5% FA cookie, 0.75 FW hazelnut, 0.75 FA joy, 2% FA marshmallow, 0.5 FA meringue, 2% Inawera shisha, 4% cap sugar cookie, and 2.5% TPA vanilla bean ice cream. So
That sounds totally different to me.
yeah, he's taken the lemon out. You know,
Yeah,
I think we
that's
found
what I'm looking for.
the cheap and dirty version of zoo biscuits, right? And this almost looks at the other ones out there, because all of them don't taste like lemon.
Mm.
Yeah. All right, guys. Yeah, so please go and check out Dazcole's recipes. Any comments on the recipes that we discussed, leave them in the comments below. Also, if there's any information that you need, leave the comments. We'll get to you. And also, just thank you to Dazcole for these recipes. Keep on keeping on. We really enjoyed them today. Yeah, guys, and thank you for watching the show.
Okay.
Yes.
Cheers.